Hey guys, this is Nick, and today I'd like to talk about open source and free software and a few common misconceptions you always see coming back online about those notions. Some people seem to think that a project is completely user malleable and that users should have the final say about what goes into a project. Some other people should think that no free software ever should cost any money. Some people think that open source is less secure or more secure. And I want to put to rest these preconceived notions. So let's start right after this. This video is sponsored by Kernel Care Plus. Linux servers mostly depend on OpenSSL for their security, and this makes it a choice target for hackers. Attacks on OpenSSL represent 19% of all hostile activity globally. To keep your server safe, you need to ensure that all libraries are correctly patched for all the recent vulnerabilities. But you can't just reboot these servers every time there's an update to OpenSSL or glibc. That's where Kernel Care Plus comes in. It detects all vulnerable shared libraries in memory and automatically applies live security updates to them without requiring service restarts or server reboots. Installing Kernel Care Plus is very easy, and you can deploy it to multiple servers at a time on all major Linux distributions. It will then check for new updates every 4 hours. Once installed, the software can either talk to a Kernel Care Plus patch server, or you can host your own on-premises. Learn more and try Kernel Care Plus for 30 days on all your servers by clicking the link in the description below. So let's first begin with a quick recap. Most people tend to conflate the open source and free software terms for them to mean the same thing. They're not exactly the same thing. While open source definitely means that the source code of the software is open and can be accessible by the user, it doesn't mean that the user has every permissions to do what he wants to do with the source code. And in case of the free software, you often have more permissions. And generally these are the permissions to run, copy, distribute, study, improve the source code, which you don't have in all open source projects. So many people, myself included, tend to use both terms to mean software that you can see the source code of. But there can be differences. For example, an open source project might limit what you can do with the source code. Some projects might forbid you to redistribute your own version of the software, whereas free software will always, generally, allow you to do so. So these permissions, the things that you can do with the project, are defined in the licenses that are used by the project. The most common are the Apache license, the MIT license, and the GPL version 3 and version 2. Those make up about half of the free software licenses that are used on all projects. Generally, when we want to refer to software that the source code is open, we should use the term FLOSS for free and libre open source software, but that thing hasn't caught on with everybody. Now that this is out of the way, let's begin with the most common misconception. And that is that open source means free, as in free beer, as in no money. This is something you always hear online. People who ask for money for their projects, if the project is open source, if it's FLOSS, then people get upset. And there is literally nothing in the 3 most common licenses that prevent you from making your project paid for or asking for people to give some money. The Apache license, the MIT license, and the GNU license do not prevent you from asking users to pay for your project. As a matter of fact, most of these licenses also allow anybody else to take your code and sell it in binary form as long as you also provide the source code to the project. So this misconception is one of the most common and one of the most infuriating, because developing software takes time, and people who ask users for money aren't begging, they aren't scamming people. They're just telling, hey, we took some time to work on this, maybe give us a hand. And in most cases, yes, open source software FLOSS is free, but not always. And sometimes you have a paywall, sometimes you have a paywall where you can pay $0, but it doesn't mean that it's against any open source license. It is not. It is perfectly healthy and normal. So one might wonder, what is the point to pay for software where you can freely download the source code of? And generally, there's 2 reasons. The first one is helping to support the project. If you use it, if you like it, there is no reason to not let it keep going on, and so you could donate a little bit of money to the project. And the second one might just be because you want the convenience of having a pre-built package instead of having to download the source code, compile it yourself, which can be tedious for some projects. You just have a binary that you paid for and that you can install. Those are good reasons to make your software paid for, even if it's FLOSS. Now, the second myth is that the user is always right. Some people tend to think that because FLOSS projects are built by a team of diverse human beings that form a community, that they should listen to everything that a user has to say, ask, or demand. Now, this is obviously completely wrong as well. Just because a project is open and depends on many different people to work on that don't necessarily form a company, doesn't mean that the project has no vision. A FLOSS project generally has a stronger vision than any other type of project, because generally they form around a common goal, a common need, or something that is lacking in the current ecosystem of open source software. So a FLOSS project generally has a very strong vision. And having that vision means that not every feature, not every bug request, not every improvement request will be considered valid. Some ideas will be rejected, and the user that submitted them will probably get mad because they don't understand. This is a community-driven project. I submitted an idea. I could even submit some code to try and implement that idea. And why would people reject it if it's already coded? Well, because it does not fit within the project's vision, the project's goal. Users aren't the decision makers in a FLOSS project. So sure, if the project loses all of their users, it's that their vision wasn't suitable for anybody and that the project has no more reason for existing apart from maybe being a fun hobby for the developers. But in the end, it is their choice. It is not the user's choice. So if you submit a feature idea that gets rejected, it doesn't mean that the developers aren't listening to their users, are stubborn, or are idiots. It means that your idea is not suitable for that project and that you probably should move to something else if you really depend on that feature for your daily work. Now, the third myth is that developers are lazy. This is something you hear often when some people are pissed because a bug fix hasn't been implemented yet, a feature request hasn't been done yet, or the project hasn't changed its whole look and feel in a few months or a few years. So yeah, developers must be lazy, right? Because people have been clamoring for this for ages and they haven't still gotten around to do it. Project X does it, why don't they do it? And I think this all stems from a misconception. People are used to use proprietary software, which is developed by companies with a team of full-time individuals behind it, a lot of money to be made and to be invested in the project. And so basically, yes, proprietary software tends to fix bugs pretty quickly. They tend to implement features that their major clients request because they need that to keep selling their product. Open source and FLOSS projects don't generally have full-time developers. The biggest ones do, and are maybe companies or are financed by companies, but a lot of smaller open source projects rely on donations and on the developers' free time. It's a hobby for them. So they don't have time to implement or act on everything that you submit. People tend to expect that if they have taken the time to submit a bug report, for example, then it is normal that the developer should take a look at it and respond and fix it in a reasonable delay, that being left to the devices of the user. Maybe it's 1 month or 1 year, whatever. But if it's not, then the user should be pissed, right? Because the developer isn't listening. Well, no, that's wrong. A developer can have plenty of reasons for why they haven't taken the time to fix your bug. Maybe they don't have the devices or the hardware required to test out your thing. They have no touchscreen, they have no multi-display configuration. Maybe they can't reproduce your bug. It happened for you, maybe it doesn't happen for them. Maybe they don't have the time. Maybe they are working on a feature that will render this bug fix obsolete and so they are not working on it. Or maybe they just don't see the interest because it's a very edge use case and most people won't happen upon it and so they would rather spend their time on something more critical. These are plenty of various reasons that will mean that a developer can't or won't work on what you want them to. And this doesn't mean that developers are lazy or incompetent. Now, the fourth misconception is that open source projects should never collect any data on the user in any way, shape, or form. And this is generally pointed out at projects that use telemetry. Telemetry in itself is just a means of collecting data that is not linked specifically to the user, but more generally to its hardware, and that is aggregated so that projects can take a look at what their users use, how they use it, and what changes they can make. The two most prominent projects that make use of telemetry are Ubuntu, which telemetry you can switch off in just one click at install, and KDE, which telemetry is switched off by default and you can turn on and select everything that you want to send. This is very granular and easy to configure. People tend to feel that telemetry is an attack on their privacy and that it should never be offered in any way, shape or form in any open source project. And this is obviously very wrong as well. Conflating telemetry and privacy invasion is dubious at best, but let's assume that telemetry is bad. There is nothing in any open source license or any of the major open source license that is preventing any project from including telemetry data collection. Nothing. This is perfectly within a project's right, just as it is in your rights to not use that project if that telemetry annoys you. Now, on that telemetry is bad subject, I think we can circle back to my previous point, because telemetry is a super good way for a developer, for a project, to know what their users use and to know what to focus on when they want to satisfy those users. For example, using telemetry, you could detect that most of your users use a 2-monitor setup. In that case, every feature request, every bug fix that affects people that use 2 monitors will be prioritized over something else. Or if maybe all of your users use touch screens, then you will probably decide to not focus on people who use keyboard and mouse because most of your user base use touch screens. This is something that you will be hard-pressed to know without using telemetry. Some teams don't, and they don't use data. They just focus on their feelings, on their vision, on what they feel their users are asking for in their repositories, in their GitLab or GitHub repos. But it's not factual data. It's amalgamating impressions and feelings. And it can work in some cases, or it can not work in some cases. But telemetry in itself isn't a bad thing. It isn't a good thing. It is just a tool that doesn't collect any personal information, at least in the 2 major cases that I've listed above, and is just acceptable for a project to use it, because without it, it's harder to know what to work on, and so the users will feel even more entitled to be pissed about and thinking that developers are lazy because they're not working on their own specific set of needs, which is not what's happening. They want to focus on what serves the most users, and telemetry is a good tool for that. And the final myth is that open source is less secure. And I can see where this one is coming from, because obviously if everyone can look at the source code, then it's easier for hackers and people with malicious intentions to find faults and security vulnerabilities and exploit them, right? Well, yes, it is, but it's also easier for people with good intentions to find them and fix them, or at least notify the developers that there's something wrong with their code. It all comes down to what you believe in. Do you think there are more people with malicious intent or more people that will want to help the project and make it better? I tend to choose the latter. I think people will help the project find vulnerabilities, report them, and they will be fixed faster than what people can detect and exploit. And it has largely been proven that open source software in various studies is not less secure than proprietary software. It's been proven that open source developers find security work boring, and that I can agree on, but it doesn't mean that it's less secure. Now, people who have that mentality of open code means less security also tend to forget that proprietary software also gets hacked, even though the code is not visible, because you do not need to look at the code to find vulnerabilities. And the various pawn exploit challenges that have popped up everywhere show that proprietary browsers get hacked just as much as open source ones, and that proprietary systems and plugins and software gets hacked just as much as open source ones as well. So open source is not less secure, it's not more secure. It's basically on par with proprietary software there. There is nothing inherently less secure about having your code open, because people can exploit it or they can fix it, and generally it balances out. And that's about it for the most common myth and misconceptions about open source and FLOSS software. If you have some other myth or misconceptions that you hear often, don't hesitate to let me know in the comments, I'll take a look at them. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't hesitate to like or dislike if you didn't. You can also subscribe and turn on notifications if you want to see more videos like this one. And if you really want to help support the channel and grow it, you can also join my amazing Patreon supporters and YouTube members and get access to an exclusive weekly patroncast and the right to vote on the next topics I'll cover. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!